I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
I want you to get mad.
Glitch paradox is unfiltered. Parental discretion is strongly advised.
Isn't that powerful? $50 or more.
This is Glitch Paradox Podcast.
There we go.
Yeah, we are back. It's been a minute. It's been a while. Welcome
Yeah,
everybody
it's really been a while.
to the holiday edition of the Glitch Paradox Podcast. I'm your host, Big Rich, alongside the trusty Mad Squirrel, aka the Mad Scientist. And thought we'd bring a little holiday cheer to everybody. Catch up with current events and all that good jazz. And get this episode in before we both, enjoy our time with our families and spend money if we haven't spent enough already. Because I know I have. Tired of going to the mall. I'm tired of ordering stuff. Tired of driving girls around to whatever store they want and all that stuff. Reality really sunk in for me. And it's weird because, when you're a teenager, I love going to the mall and hanging out. But now, when I'm on the cusp of turning 40 here in a couple of months, and playing Uber driver for teenage girls, and it's not funny. The mall's not cool anymore. I don't even want to see the mall anymore. Like I don't care.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
They almost make me want to hate Target, and I love Target. Because I've been there so many times in the past few days, like they're making me start to kind of.
Especially right now, because people are crazy.
Yeah.
And it's getting harder, and inflation's kicking in. Things are not cheap. Shocking.
No.
And it's got. I mean, Amazon. Have you seen the prices on Amazon?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and it's bad enough you got to deal with rude people and all the holiday. My thing, because I don't like dealing with a lot of people anyway. But then when you have to go in the store, we got lines around the corner and parking lots full, and you got to deal with a whole bunch of people. It's just like I prefer to just the majority of my shopping I did online, except for a couple of things.
Right.
But they're still, my girls are still in that age where they like to go into the stores and go, so. But us grumpy folks were like,
Yeah. I think generally the malls and stores and, I don't know. My brain's like, well, I'm done. I was done with Christmas for the squirrels like a few weeks ago.
right.
And now it's just little stuff right now. But yeah, I'm freaking tired, dude. It just
the prices doesn't help either.
Oh hell no.
Inflation and everything. You're looking at stuff. It's just like, man, it's just not shopping. Is just not fun.
No.
Anymore. It really not. I still enjoy going to the comic book store because comic book prices are still cool. But anything else, for example, with the Costco. The other weekend spent almost $400 in there, where normally it would have been like $2 something. It's just crazy.
Yeah, because I was talking to a couple of different people from East to West Coast, asking just simple question of how much are your eggs? I'm like, there's a temperature gauge, and also on milk, right? It's pretty high. It's generally high on a lot of people, and in some places are locking the eggs up. Like they would if it was like formula,
I've seen eggs locked up. I've seen steak locked up, and stuff. I just laugh. I'm like, really, y'all really?
Dude, do they put those electrical wraps?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Okay. I thought am I in Fry's or am I in a Best Buy? Which store am I at right now?
Right. This is some premium tenderloin. How dare you? Don't look at it. They're gonna charge you some money just by looking at it. Like it's, I get it. People are stealing food,
Right.
and not just like, oh, a can of soup. We're talking like the high end shit.
Right.
And I, the theft and the crime. We were talking about this earlier briefly, but the crime has increased. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, like it's just getting a little wackier, and this is nothing. We haven't seen nothing yet, as we were talking about.
No, no, and that's part of the show today. We got some stuff we're going to touch base on, talk about, of course, the fun economy, what's what's
Yeah,
in the future, what's it going to look like in the future, as
yeah.
far as trying to be prepared, going to get into the unexplained, the unknown, touch on some planetic stuff.
And
So
it's, yeah, we're gonna try to, touch a little bit on everything,
yeah, everything,
you
a little
know,
bit of everything.
and and obviously leave a little bit with that Christmas cheer, or whatever holiday you celebrate. I don't care, man. Just stay safe is the biggest thing, and
I made sure to watch my Home Alone 1 and 2. I had to get them out the way
exactly.
for the holidays, so I'm good. I did my quota, holiday movie quota.
I'm like,
uh,
you have to get in the films and then, your
yeah,
tunes. I don't like
right.
hearing in the grocery store starting in October, but that's me.
Mariah Carey's just waiting, like, yeah.
You know what? No one needs that. Calm down, Mariah. Trying to step all over Thanksgiving.
My mom did not like her as a singer. She was not a fan of Mariah Carey.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan either. I know it's sacrilegious, but
But my
whatever.
mom was old. Like, she wasn't a fan of Mariah Carey. She wasn't a fan of Whitney. I mean, she wasn't a fan of Beyonce. I'm sorry. So she
Really?
was, yeah, she wasn't. She did not like them. She loved, her artist was, Whitney Houston
Yeah.
and Aaliyah, you know, Mary J. Blige, like all those, Monica, Brandy, like all those. She was all that, but like Beyonce, she was never a fan, and Mariah Carey, she was never a
Wow. Well, you know what? It's a different feeling to it than,
fan. Right.
like with Whitney. I don't know. I'm still sad she's gone. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I know that she had her demons, but it's just
Right.
sad because,
Yeah.
when someone dies of addiction, and it's just sad because there's so much potential in
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Well, it affected her. I mean, and her daughters. Like,
Oh, that's the saddest thing
yeah,
in the world.
like her
Uh,
daughter was
man,
devastated. Yeah.
mm, it does make you think. It's like,
Right.
come on, man. Somebody, all of it's sad, but I still can't believe she's gone. It's still weird. It's kind of like Robin Williams. You're just like, no, like,
People you don't like just out of blue, like, what the heck? Like,
hmm
yeah, you just wouldn't expect that, you know. Yeah.
it's kind of left field. It's like,
Right.
what? I'm
Right.
sorry, I didn't realize there was all this. I mean, obviously these are celebrities; they don't
Like
get to
I took
share everything.
right, like the shock, like for when the Green Ranger passed, I was like, what the heck? Like,
Oh yeah,
out now that was a shocker. Like, man, this guy is, and I know people that go to cons and stuff where
yeah,
he's there, and they say like, man, he's real cool, like real just humble dude, and a lot of times he don't even charge for his autographs or his pictures and stuff. Like,
yeah.
he'll chop it up with you and sign whatever and take, like, he was a real cool dude from everybody that's met him in person and all that.
Yep,
They all said the same thing. It's like just a real humble, real cool guy.
that's
But he was
sad.
always, the most popular Power Ranger anyway. But still, he was in his early. Yeah, he was 49, I think. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But
and the saddest thing is he left behind kids.
yeah.
And I
But
know that he and his wife were having issues, and obviously the
yeah,
divorce was
and
fine, all that
he was
crap.
dealing with depression. Like, depression is no joke. You can't just because you see someone smiling and joking, that's just you can't tell the pain that they have. And don't just assume that they're good. Like, a
Yeah,
lot of those people that are smiling like that and joking around, like, they got a lot of
it's
pain behind that.
it's really sad because they, it if they knew the impact of
Hmm.
what their action is, it's kind of like you. And this sounds morbid, but it's kind of like you wish that they had like a Ebenezer Scrooge moment before they
Right,
decided to take their life,
right, right,
so they
right,
would see what their death would do,
right, right.
to
It's
those
kind of
around
like,
them.
so they give them like a second chance. Like, do you, this is what's going to happen if you choose to do this. Go
It's
down
also
this
like
road.
It's a Wonderful Life, same
Well,
shit.
yeah, like when my mom passed, I know the dark path I was going on, and I had to, my girls kept me from doing something that I know I would regret.
Yeah,
you know so and looking back at it now, I'm glad that I made the right choice, because
right.
my girls need me, so yeah,
And
it's never easy. Everybody goes through, handles things differently, but I'm glad that I was able to have a clear mind and think about.
and depression is like grief. It's the same
Right.
thing with just different, shades, right?
Right.
And it can be very blinding, that kind of pain where you can't really escape it, and it's very suffocating. And I think that's, I'm glad that we have more open conversations about mental health, and I think that
Right.
that's overlooked a
Right.
lot. And there's a lot of people that would benefit from seeing a professional, you know,
Yeah.
a professional therapist, or somebody that they trust. In the end, it's about, being able to have an open dialogue of honesty with a person that is there to help you, who is
Right.
accredited and can help guide you. It's not all about shooting someone a bunch of medications.
Exactly.
It's more like talk therapy and things like that. Those things are very valuable. So it's like, there are options out there, but it's when you're being suffocated, it can be very, well, beyond overwhelming for a lot of people. And it depends too where that self-pity is coming from. Like what is it that's causing you grief? Is it something you've done or you think you've done, or is it something that you just feel like you can't shake?
Right.
Whether it's a loss of some type. Uh, there's a lot of reasons why people have depression, but there are a lot of wonderful resources. I will make sure that in the description box we'll put some resources for, suicide awareness. And if you are, or someone you know or love is, going through a difficult time, there are definitely wonderful people out there who volunteer their time, or professionals that are out there you can talk to. And right, especially since COVID, that stuff's been like big time overkill.
Well, yeah. I
Everybody's
mean, you
getting
think
help,
that,
man.
and
you know?
and with that, and just to segue into our, I guess, our first topic with the economy. You think
Yeah.
about the depression people have already, and so dealing with financials and everything. Imagine if the economy gets worse going into next year,
Yeah.
and what people will do, and what people that will do things that's not in their character and all that to survive, and all of that, like the mental when it comes to mental health, like we have so many different layers and obstacles
Hmm.
that we go through every day, and you still have people out there that says, "Oh, toughen up, shake it off." And it's like you can't just say that for everything, like unless you're living in, living that same way or going through what that person is going through. You can't
Right.
just shake stuff off. So, with this economy, we've already felt what was going on for the past, what, year, almost two,
Yep.
since, after COVID, during COVID and everything. And it's just gotten, we see the effects, we feel it in our pockets and everything when we go to the store, when we're buying things that normally would not be expensive. You're looking at the price now. We're like, the heck, gas and everything. It's crazy right now.
Right. And this first article does touch on a lot of this stuff. And a lot of people are seeing this. It's like you do have, you know, our government currently saying, "Oh, well, it's not a big deal. It's not that bad. This inflation is only temporary. It's not gonna get worse." And they're saying it's the companies, gouging the price and so on and so forth. But it is a trickle down effect, and somebody's going to pay for this. And the other issue is that we have the Fed has well been changing the rates a bit.
Hmm.
So that's an understatement. So this is an article. It's cross-posted over to Economic Collapse, but it is written by Michael Schneider from the Economic Collapse blog, and he's been writing for many, many years, and he has some wonderful, great breakdowns on his website about economic issues, socioeconomic, all that good stuff. But the title of the article is "Most People Are Simply Not Ready for the Economic Chaos That Is Coming in 2023." Um, so this is him going forward. This was written on December 16th. And you'll find all of the articles that we do show on here will be in the description box below. So you can click on them. We have them sectioned off, by if it's an article, a video, or if it's just a reference. So anyway, it says, have you noticed that a lot of big companies have been conducting mass layoffs recently? At this point, it has become exceedingly clear that a major economic slowdown has begun, and payrolls are being feverishly slashed at a rate that we haven't seen in a long time. In fact, the number of job cuts in November 2022 was 417% higher than it was in November of 2021. Unfortunately, what we have witnessed so far is just the beginning. We're being warned that a couple million more Americans will lose their jobs in 2023, and the vast majority of the population is simply not prepared for such a scenario. In fact, a new survey that was just released found that 63% of all Americans are currently living paycheck to paycheck. And this is a snippet from everything is linked on his article here. So where you see these little green fonts, you just click it, hyperlink it, it'll take you to the article and the citations. But this is from the article talking about Americans. So as of November, 63% of Americans were living paycheck to paycheck, according to a monthly Lending Club report, up from 60% the previous month and near the 64% historic high hit in March. Even high income earners are under pressure, Lending Club found. So, of those earning more than six figures, 47% reported living paycheck to paycheck, a jump from the previous month's 43%. So, he goes on to say, when you are just barely scraping by from month to month, a job loss can be absolutely debilitating. Sadly, this year, many large corporations aren't even waiting until after the holidays to give the axe to thousands of highly dedicated employees. And this is another clip from an article. It says, there is arguably no good time for companies to lay off employees, of course. But as farewell to my job posts continue to populate LinkedIn, many are wondering, why did they have to do this the week before Thanksgiving or right before Christmas? So, despite the job market's overall strength, big names in tech, including Meta Platforms Incorporated, Salesforce Incorporated, and Amazon.com Incorporated, have all laid off workers or announced plans to do so in recent months. Thousands of job cuts have also hit other industries, with Ford Motor Company, Walmart, and PepsiCo, all reducing their headcounts, leaving many employees to wonder, could I be next? So the author goes on to say, are we really so bad that these giant firms couldn't have waited a few weeks? Happy Thanksgiving. By the way, you're fired. So I was growing up, big companies at least pretended to be compassionate. But now corporate giants seem to feel free to let workers go the instant that their usefulness is over. So this just has further snippets in the article here. There is this video here from the New York Post. I'm not going to play because I don't want it, our shit to get dinged. But thanks, YouTube. Anyway, when staff members learned here at Washington Post that they were going to having some layoffs announced in early 2023, this video was taken at their town hall meeting. This video actually went a little viral over this past week. I'm sure it might pick up a little bit more momentum. But the truth is like, I don't know how it'll roll, but it is around social media. But needless to say, you can find this particular article in the links below with the very long-winded segment here where, they're questioning the head honcho who was attending this town hall, and they denied that, they said, well, yeah, we're going to have layoffs, but, right now we can't comment. You know how that goes. So he ended up storming out of the meeting. And of course, you have like a Karen, they cut her off in the video that they have here. Karen saying, well, you were being disrespectful to him. And I'm like, I would want to know if I'm getting canned too.
Right.
Anyway, that's me. Obviously I'd be a little respectful, but I still, it's like,
do I need to start looking for a job now? Or
right. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So the article goes on. It says, in fact, several other large media corporations have also recently announced cutbacks. So here's a snippet. Of course, the news of the layoffs comes amid a horrible backdrop for the media industry at large. In recent weeks, CNN has laid off hundreds of staffers. Gannett has cut 200 staffers. NPR has said it needs to find $10 million in savings, and other organizations have implemented moves to slash their costs. So, even though so many big names have been slashing workers, the government has continued to insist that everything is fine. And each month, they have told us that the U.S. economy has continued to gain jobs. But now the truth of what has really been going on is starting to become quite obvious. In fact, even the Philly Fed is now publicly admitting the number of jobs in this country has been overstated by the government by at least a million. Now, this is an incredible number of overestimation. I do have an article separate from this that elaborates on this big point because this is a big one. So give me a moment. I'm going to switch over to this other article because it talks a lot about uh, the Fed's boo boo, big boo boo. Don't you hate that when you're like, oh, I thought we were fine and then things just exploded. I don't know what happened.
Like, oops, yeah. I don't know what happened.
It's yeah,
Like,
like
who did that? Someone else.
I didn't. I have no idea who did this.
Right.
Oh my God. So this is from Forex Live. It says the Philadelphia Federal Reserve says that 10,000 jobs were added in the U.S. in Q2, not 1 million. Yes, that's right. The Philly Fed says that 1 million jobs were not added, only 10,000. So what? This comes from the
Philadelphia. Carry over the one.
Exactly. Like what?
Off.
Somebody failed economics and they're like, oopsie, how did I end up at the Fed?
Yeah.
This is how, but anyway, I'll read this. It's very short. It says, this comes from the Philadelphia Fed's quarterly assessment of payrolls, its early benchmark revision of the state payroll employment. If you want to stop reading here, the kicker is that U.S. payrolls have been overstated by at least 1 million, if not more. If you want more, here's some details. Okay, so estimates by the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia indicate that the employment changes from March through June of 2022 were significantly different in 33 states, and the District of Columbia compared with current state estimates from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is the BLS, Current Employment Statistics, CES. So our estimates incorporate more comprehensive, accurate job estimates released by the BLS as part of its quarterly Census of Employment and Wages program to augment? Sure. Sorry. The same data from the BLS's CES that are issued monthly on a timely basis. All percentage changes calculations are expressed as annualized rates. So in the aggregate, 10,500 net new jobs were added during the period rather than the 1,121,500 jobs estimated by the sum of the states. The U.S. CES estimated net growth of, 1,047,000 jobs for the, oh Lord. So anyway, there's your summary of their oopsie. Oh my God. Oopsie.
You know this what makes me upset about this is it's bad enough, families are living paycheck, the average family, living paycheck to paycheck. And then you think about like single parent households who's barely scraping by. But what gets me is like the mess the kids have to deal with when they get older. And this is why I don't believe in, especially now, any parent that's like, oh man, when you're 18, you're going to be living on your own and getting your own plate. Like, you can't expect your kid to do that.
Yeah.
Right now. That's just the fast lane to put them, or they're going to be a fast lane to debt.
Oh, yeah.
Right now. You can't do that. And that's why I don't even hate, like, I'm happy when you see, like, these young kids that are, social media influencers making a lot of money, whether gaming or YouTube or whatever, they're hustling, doing whatever, and they're making a lot of money doing that because, like, this day and age, it's just crazy.
There's
It
none.
is crazy.
like that the good point that Michael Snyder made in his article, right, was there is no compassion from these companies. Back in the
Yeah.
day, what, in the 70s or 80s, there was a different feeling to employment. You know what I'm saying? Where there was a loyalty expected and all this other crap. And now it's like that loyalty's gone. Like, you have a right to work state example. They
Mm,
can fire you. They don't have to tell you why. Good luck to you,
right.
And
Yeah.
then they turn around and say, "Well, we expect you to give us 2 weeks notice."
Right.
But it's like worker rights have gone out the window. So
Yeah.
I'm pro union. I think that's uh,
Out out here,
you
it
know
makes you a little nervous anytime you get a new job. Like, for me, I was at my previous job. It would for before I moved on for 9 years and four
mm,
months, and I
mhm.
was real nervous about um, leaving that job because I was there for so long, and I'm like, man, I'm like, am I gonna, you know, be okay switching over? And like, I was real nervous. I was like, man, what if I regret it? I go to this other job and they don't
Right.
last, or whatever the case, may be. But I decided to make that move, and so far so good. And we there in the back of my mind, there's still that, like, what if one day, um, we get a meeting, and I was like, yeah,
Right.
sorry guys, in the next month we're gonna have to go ahead and cut. But I'm in the IT field, so that's one of the strong fields. You get medical and IT, or
Right.
both fields where you really don't have to worry about not having a job in those fields. So I'm okay there. But yeah, in the back of my mind, I was like, man, am I gonna have one of those meetings? And we had a town hall meeting, like when I had my work trip back in October, and flew to Portland.
Mhm.
We had our town hall meeting and met the CEO and all that. I should say the CIO, Chief Information Officer, and all that. And we talked, and I was a part of me was like, we're gonna have any layoffs because I've
Right.
been seeing so much stuff, and now everything was cool, but in the back of my mind, I'm still nervous about that, because you see it, so it's like almost every day you're hearing about mass layoffs and a whole bunch of people getting fired and let go and all of that. It's just crazy right now.
Do you know there was a point somebody made about employment? Like, a lot of the companies, what they're doing is if they are laying people off, it's usually people who only do one thing.
Right,
But they're keeping people who are willing or able or are already doing multiple tasks, right?
right,
So it's kind of like, these companies, the ones they are keeping, they're going to put more workload. If they do a layoff, for example, they're going to put a huge workload on, certain, contractors or individuals that they're, direct hire. Um, and it's it's a catch 22. You're grateful to have that job or that position. But like what is going on with the tall squirrel at his job, that's my eldest son, is they did 2 rounds of layoffs in emergency medical, and he was able to dodge those 2, thankfully, because he has, he went to school and got, an advanced EMT, and he's going to go for his paramedic in another year. He wants to take a break because he was going
right,
during COVID to do all this other training and shit.
right,
But what they did after this layoff was then they put the burden of more workload on him and all the other guys that are like left over, basically, guys and gals. So they're all, working these long shifts and crazy hours, and their pay is not super great. And it's all for it's somebody in the city council, one of their, I forgot which one it was that made this decision, but it's somebody who has no knowledge of EMS
right,
and was the one that called all the shots. So basically, the reason why he has his job still, like many others, is because he's willing to take on extra workload and extra, like, responsibilities and all this shit, and not making great, super amazing pay to compensate, if that makes sense.
right.
So it's that's the double-edged sword of right of being able to retain a job. And yes, it's good to have a job, especially, and it's scary to switch jobs in what in a time where it's a little tricky, and there's a lot of jobs out there that aren't what they claim to be, and others are exactly what they claim to be, but it's still a scary endeavor because you're starting over, or you're going into a new company. You don't really know everything yet, but you have a good feel for it. But there's always a surprise here and there, you know?
Yeah, that's how I felt going into this new position. I was nervous because it was like I was moving from one field, IT field, to another, which I had no prior. Certain similarities, but I really didn't have no prior experience. So I was nervous going into that.
I think you'll be really good though, because you're
Yeah, yeah.
fast,
Now I've been there now for what is it, like 8 months, something like
Hmm.
that, 9 months. So I'm getting used to it, but it was it was nervous, a lot of
Yeah.
nervousness at first. So, but yeah, I think once I settled in, I'm like, oh, okay, yes,
You like it? Is it good?
yeah, yeah. Getting in because I was doing knock stuff, and my previous job, but now in cybersecurity. So
Oh, hmm.
yeah, big switch,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's something different, just something to add to you know my skill set. And when I at least want to have a before I even think of looking further on, or looking for something else. I at least want to have
That's still
a
great
skill.
though. I mean, the
Yeah, get that.
experience you're going to glean from that's going to be very impactful, especially as time, like with everything that's going on economically.
Yeah,
Fraud has gone up.
right,
Cyber attacks definitely been ramped
right.
up for how many years?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. So
and
it's different. It's different. It's similar as far as market, because in a knock you monitored and doing a lot of monitoring, but that's where this similarities stop.
right.
But you know, in cybersecurity, it's a whole different animal.
That's fascinating because I
Yeah,
like stuff like that because you learn a lot and you see a
yeah.
lot of things. It may not sound like it at first, but once you get in there, you
Hmm.
start to see, let's say you see a real time scenario going on. You're like, holy shit,
Right.
like look what they're doing, or look how the system is reacting,
Yeah,
and
and
learning.
and yeah, there's definitely been plenty of times where there was like some craziness going on. So
Right.
yeah, I definitely got thrown in there with the sharks. So, but
That's
now I
badass.
like, yeah, I've settled in. I mean, I'm still learning stuff, but for the most part, I'm settled in. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it.
Well, then congrats on that, because that's a big
Yeah,
deal. It's not
yeah,
it's not like a what do you call it? It's not like super easy. It's hard when you start over. It feels like you're starting over a little bit,
right.
because you're starting something new. But it's such a blessing to be trained and to be provided with that information and have a company like invest in you. You
Right,
know,
right. Yeah, because anybody else like who had no kind, like if they tried it, they'd probably be like, "Nah, I'm good. let, me,
it's
let me
true.
get up out of here. I can't," because it's a lot. It's a lot of information you have to take in and
Yes,
and retain. So it's a lot. But once you get your feet wet, you
and
get used to it.
that's the thing is like there's a lot of jobs out there too, because I've been on hunting for a while, and I
Right,
had to take a break because COVID kind of just went
right.
um there's a lot of jobs that are listed, and this is the thing that's crazy, and obviously you have your fraudulent ones that are all bullshit,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
then you have ones that they are hiring, but they're because there's so many people applying for the same positions, there's a lot of competition. So
Yeah.
it sucks in that sense. And it's like, okay, well, something's got to give, because, I've had a couple prompts to go into, meaning been contacted or whatever to work with fraud, like
Right,
anti-fraud departments and shit.
right.
And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Um, so that's a field I'm looking into right now because I know that that's going to be, well, needed.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
going to be a busy field, like you were saying. Anything with cybersecurity, theft or fraud. Yeah, those are going to be
I
outside of
think
medical. It's up
and
there.
the more like the certs you have, like certs are more valuable to in my opinion than degrees when it comes to IT. Like
Right.
you of course, you go get you like a degree in computer science or whatever, cool.
But it's
But
all
if you're walking
certs.
around with like uh, Cisco, or A plus or whatever, network
Hmm.
security, cert, all that, yeah, that really, helps you as far as getting the job you want, and then as far as your salary,
Right.
really bumps you up. Like for me, since this is my first um, position in cybersecurity, this is like, entry level cybersecurity. But once I get that experience and whatever, it's gonna help me in
Oh, big
getting
time.
to those other positions. But yeah, no,
A
it's
door opens a door, you know?
right, exactly. So that's how I look at it. But it's just the way the economy is right now. It's just always I'm always going to be kind of nervous when it comes to this.
Oh, yeah.
But especially, and we talked about this before we here is going into next year, how crazy things can get going into next year, and we've been saying this before. Even the issue with the economy is like hoping that people
Oh,
prep
yeah.
as much as they could, and all that, because when it hits the fan, it's going to be chaos. So we
Absolutely.
truly hope people out there are prepping or trying or starting, or if you haven't done it, please start now, because 2023, the way it looks, is going to be total craziness.
Absolutely. And I think that it's like, um, going back really quick, because this is an article that's in there, but it's from CNET. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But it's about unemployment statistics are misleading and economic hardship is much worse than what's being reported. And this has a lot to do with how certain things are reported in the government numbers, right? Daddy Bush or excuse me, Bush Jr. post 9/11 messed around a little bit with the numbers. But this article here is CNET, and it was written on November 23rd by I haven't named the people on one of the other articles. My bad. But this is by Laura Michelle Davis, and it was back on November 23rd this year. And her first quote on here is, "There are three kinds of lies, damned lies, and statistics." And this is Mark Twain said that. Um, but is the US labor market as healthy as the headlines say? Not if you're looking at real lives. So, for months, we've been hearing how the US economy isn't in an official recession because of the strong job market and low unemployment. In the
Right,
most recent report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, October's unemployment rate was 3.7%. That single statistic was below 5%, is commonly cited to promote a rosy financial picture, which is very true because Janet Yellen, this previous week, had come out and said, "Oh, everything's fine, 2023, the inflation will go down and people will be able to spend money." And she was talking like George Bush, like post 9/11 economy, like during that,
right,
or
right.
post 9/11 and going into that economy. He was telling people to consume and go
Yeah,
enjoy nature and shit. I don't remember what he
yeah.
said, but that was what
Keep
George W. said.
shopping and all of that.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
it. So basically, except that all U.S. households have been hit on multiple fronts: the dramatic increasing cost of basic necessities, deepening job insecurity, and rising interest rates that make credit card debt worse and loans more expensive. The headline unemployment figure isn't just overly simplified; it distorts the true level of economic hardship. The market is hurting in ways that the statistics don't necessarily reflect, said Darren Rummick, which is the lead counsel on unemployment discrimination at the Klein Law Group in New York City. When analysts at the Ludwig Institute for Shared Economic Prosperity, a nonprofit research center focused on lower and middle income families, they measured what they call the true rate of unemployment in October. It was at 23.6%, more than six times higher than the official number. So relying exclusively on a flawed metric to measure the health of the economy is misleading. Individuals who've given up looking for work aren't even counted as unemployed, while part-time employees or freelancers who might find only 1 hour of work per week, financially unstable by any standard, are treated as employed. That means they're underemployed. So millions of others are actually, oh, there it is, actually underemployed, meaning their jobs pay poverty wages or they don't make use of their abilities. And then there are the faces behind the curtain, individuals with physical disabilities or restrictions that prevent them from rejoining the labor force, and low income families, disproportionately Black and Latino, that are left struggling within the weakening social safety net. And so the article goes on and on. But they talk about the official figures and what they tell you. So they talk about the misconceptions, which is very important. They do a very nice job here of breaking it down with the U6 and the U3, meaning how those two different charts of the collected data are so obscurely wrong. And I've had people quote to me the wrong data over and over again because that's what the TV tells them instead of reading it on their own, which is insane. And you have to read your own like Rich has said and I have said, do your own research, look this stuff up, start at one of these articles as a starting point and just dive into it. And this article will explain it very well about how the BLS unemployment data comes into effect. Like, how do they collect it? How do they count people? The other thing that they don't also mention at the beginning of this article is when she was listing all of the groups they don't, count. One of them are the people who are not just discouraged workers, but the ones who have stopped taking unemployment. They stop counting them too. So let's say you've been on unemployment for 6 months and it's dropping off for you. You're no longer counted in the unemployment numbers. There's something to think about. So that's how they set up these charts. So anyway, I'll read a little bit of this. I don't want to obviously waste all this time on this too much, but it is important. So let's start with the misconceptions. An unemployment rate of 3.7% does not mean that 96.3% of people in the U.S. are gainfully employed, nor does the official unemployment rate represent how many people are collecting federal unemployment insurance. A large percentage of people without jobs aren't even eligible to collect unemployment, such as independent contractors, as well as employees who quit voluntarily or were fired for cause. And a lot of workers who do qualify for jobless benefits remain without work long after their aid runs out, which is usually around 26 weeks. The BLS unemployment data comes from the Census Bureau's current population survey, which interviews about 60,000 eligible households each month. For the main BLS figure, called the U3, the number of unemployed people is recorded as a percentage of the civilian labor force. Individuals are classified as unemployed if and only if they meet the certain following criteria. They must be currently available to work and must have looked for a job in the last 4 weeks. That means that someone without a job who is not actively, in quotes, seeking a work, whether due to pessimism, family obligations, or multiple other reasons, is considered outside the labor force and excluded from that U3 figure. So the quote here is, if you have an extremely low unemployment rate because you've got a whole bunch of people who don't think they'll be able to find jobs, that's not a healthy labor market. That's a discouraged labor market, said Ryan Luby, a researcher with the McKinsey American Opportunity Survey. In addition, nearly 40% of the U.S. population isn't counted as part of the U.S. labor force at all, including workers with disabilities, students, retirees, active duty military members, stay-at-home caregivers, and people who are institutionalized or incarcerated. So this does go on to break down where those numbers go, why they're accounted the way they are, obviously a little bit more deeper dive, but it's really it's interesting because we're thrown this 3.7 number over and over again in the media, and how it isn't a big deal, and things are looking great, the job numbers look magnificent. It's all bullshit, dude. Bullshit. Absolutely bullshit. I know people who are underemployed right now. They can't pay bills. Like they're having to either move back home or get close, move in with other family or friends or get roommates. Like you were saying, it's, my eldest is living on his own right now. And We've talked about, because the economy is taking a downturn, the possibility of him having to return home at some given point, especially if, let's say, he gets randomly selected for a layoff, or if something else happens, you just
Right.
don't know. And, it's not something any, young adult wants to consider. I don't blame him. It was the same damn way. But,
Yeah.
if times get tough, it's like you have to make changes.
Yeah. And that's why I'm in no rush for my girls wanting to leave and move out. Like they understand what it is, and that's why, right now
Right.
I'm teaching them all about just saving their money, and focusing on school and all of that. Like, don't need to worry about moving into their own place and all of that. At least, unless things to worry about right now. That time will come,
Yeah.
as they get older. But yeah, I'm not even considering that right now. And I know everybody's situation is not the same. I
Hmm.
know everybody's situation or their relationship with their kids aren't the same. Um, so every situation is different. But yeah, for the most part, and that's on the rise too, where a lot of you know people are moving back in with their parents or other family members because it's just hard.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
can't even. You used to be able to work at a Walmart or
hmm
a fast food place or whatever, and still rent was like out here. Like the prices out here is ridiculous for rent.
oh,
You
oh
know,
God, yeah.
but it used to be you could work at a Walmart, you could work somewhere,
Hmm.
and even though you may be paycheck to paycheck, you still were able to afford your own place or whatever, or have it with a roommate or whatever the case is. That won't cut it now for rent out here. Like you can't just work at Walmart unless you have someone else making more than you, or you have roommates with other people, whatever the case is, where yeah, there's multiple streams of income coming in. You can't work at a Walmart or whatever and just
Right.
be able to take care of all of that and be good, you know. And now you see with fast food restaurants or whatever, they raise the hourly wage now. Some places are 14, $15 an hour, which is great if inflation wasn't
Right.
that now. I would have loved to. I used to work at Wendy's when I was 17, and it was like I was making nine something an hour
That's pretty
there.
good, dude, for that
Yeah,
time.
right, right. But you know, it would be awesome for these kids or people who are working at $15, $16 an hour at a fast food restaurant and there's no inflation. Then
It's
that's
just not a
cool.
livable, like it's
Like
insane.
you have no choice but to raise hourly wages or whatever because
Yes.
prices are ridiculous.
And the thing is like, they'll a lot of like the people, the corporations or even our government will say, well, you can't, that's going to mess up inflation. You can't raise you know, the wages because that's just going to mess with, more inflation. It's like, yeah, okay. Well, have you seen it's interesting right now because we're in this weird limbo state economically, meaning we just got out of the elections. Of course, gas went up again because it's all manipulated for elections.
Right.
Um, yes, it went down and it's going to go right the hell back up. And you have the cost of food that's tremendously higher. A lot of this is a little bit of everything. It's corporations and their crap. It's a lot to do with the supply chain problems, the shortages on different products, whether it's due to the avian flu, for example, with eggs and chicken. The price on chicken is ridiculous. But
Yeah, it is.
it's
Yeah, it
like
is.
on fresh deli meats, you have to watch every time there's a recall because you're like, okay, what's on recall and why?
Yeah.
And it's just being aware because you're going to pay the price. And I think it's people have to be more vigilant now about their dollar and how far is that going to go. And the truth is that it, it's our dollars worth less in this process. So you're going to spend more when you go to the, I mean, it's incredibly insane how expensive things are. And depends on where you live in the country too. I understand that. East
Right.
Coast, it might be higher in some places than, let's say, in the Midwest, or here in Texas, or even on the West Coast, right? Or in Arizona. It just, the prices are going to vary, but you are looking at your local farmers who are struggling. They're having issues with payments between the grocery store chains, that they distribute their eggs or produce or whatever they're supplying to. They're fighting with that, the price on fertilizer, the price of not having their crops come in properly, meaning they had a lot of dead crops, or because of the drought we had over the summer, or this extreme cold that's coming in. There's a lot of things that are going to affect the quality of the soil and just the availability of things. Um, it's it's kind of like it's all leading up, and it's been doing that all summer. And we've always talked about prepping a lot. Every time we do one, we bring it up, and it's not hoarding. That's a whole nother bracket of stupid.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
that
no.
that's like a life. What do you call it? It's like a TLC show. You know what I mean?
I watched a few of those episodes. I'm like, oh,
Oh man,
yeah,
that's
like
y-
I
yeah.
don't judge, but some of them houses, I'm like, man, come on.
Oh, I'll judge. I'll judge.
Yeah,
That shit looks nasty. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm sorry, man.
you
There,
need
you
help.
need counseling, and you need to clean your house. You need to get some Mary maids in your house.
I'll never
Yeah.
forget the one episode with the lady. She had dead cats in her house, and then
Mhm.
her
Oh God.
toilet, the plumbing stopped working. I forgot how long ago, right? So she had a toilet just pile of her shit up in the toilet that she
Ugh.
never got rid of. So I'm like, how the heck? They're like, how do you use the bathroom? It was like a little mound over her poo,
That's
just chilling.
disgusting,
I'm
dude.
like, oh,
I remember the dead cat one because they
yeah,
lifted up something and it was a flattened dead cat.
right.
I couldn't imagine. That's the thing. I could never. That's a whole nother level of just a mental crisis that I don't have words for. It's beyond words. It's just at that point they're a danger to themselves and others. Just with that type of environment, it's like,
You
oh my
know it's
god.
bad when your house is condemned by the
Hmm.
city or whatever.
You need a vacuum cleaner when, you
Yeah,
know, you need a
right,
mop or something. But
right.
yeah, like, but as far as like hoarding, don't hoard. Especially that's not. I mean, there's greedy ass people. That's life, and there's always going to be greed. You know, but
Organize your
yep,
equipment. Get
just
your freezer. Make sure
go
you
through your freezers.
have pantries set up right. You're good to go. You ain't gotta go crazy.
No, just buy what you use. And as because like we'll buy an extra can of something or whatever, and we will use them, and we just rotate out the products ahead of time, so that way, okay, well, we go to a store, they don't have it, at least we have one on hand at home. you know
Right.
that's happened a lot over the last year alone. It's actually way worse than it was during COVID. um I would say it's starting to pick up, especially in price, and what they offer for the pricing. Amazon's ridiculous. I've
Right.
looked at other websites, and I've been hunting, and I've found some wholesalers and things like that, yeah, hit or miss deals. You know how it goes.
They,
But
I don't know if we have any of those stores out where you're at, but out here in Mesa, there's that discount food place.
I've heard
Uh,
about this place. I have not.
yeah,
We don't
yeah,
have that.
they have one out here in Mesa off of I don't know if you remember the area
Yeah, I do.
or know the area, but it's off of Southern and Longmore. It's right before you
Oh,
get to,
really?
yeah, right before you get to Alma School, and they
Dude,
have
I've
that
been
over
to that
there.
area. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's
they
a
have.
pretty centralized area to like the mall is, and
I
shit.
went in there like one time a few years back just to see what they had in there. I was like, okay. So basically, if no one's been in a discount food place, they have food there that may be what's the way to say it? They're
Like
about
a
to hit
couple
the
weeks for an
expiration date.
expire.
Yeah, like either a week or
Somebody
two, or
else has
maybe like
mentioned this
a few
place to me.
days. Right, right.
I think that's great. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, for if if it's especially if someone that needs you're planning on using that food right away, or
hmm
need to make dinner and only have limited funds, and they need
dude, you could
something.
totally pick up some bread and freeze it.
Right, right, exactly. So
You
yeah, you
know,
got those places too.
like we hit up like we do have out here, which is also in Arizona, 99 cent everything store. You know that big one.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I was so happy because like when we were living in New Mexico, they didn't have that shit, and I was like, damn. But the cost of living wasn't as like it was about this. I would say it was a little lower, but in the end, it's like whatever, we're fine now. But it
Mhm.
like they have the 99 cent. We'll go in there. Their prices are ridiculous a little bit now. Like there's more
Right,
items in there that are not $1.25 or whatever the hell it is. Like Dollar Tree did the same thing, but now they're selling stuff in 99 cent that is like $4 or $5 or $10. You have to really read your labels, and they do mislabel a lot, whether that's because they can't keep up with the rising costs, because that seems to be a recurring theme. Um, but always price check your items in any of these stores too, just to make sure that the price is what's indicated on the tag. They kind of, I think sometimes they, in these types of stores, they might overlook it intentionally. So when the time you get to check out, you're so tired of being in the store, you're just like, you know what, I'll just buy it.
right,
Um,
right.
so they don't have price checkers in Target anymore, or in do they have it at
Yeah,
Walmart?
you know what? I just noticed that. Yeah, they sure don't.
Yeah,
They
they
sure
got rid of
don't.
them. And
I did not notice that until recently.
yeah, like they got rid of them sometime earlier this year, at least around here. And I
Right,
was like, "What the fuck?" And I'm being real. Like if I'm busy, I'm like, I'm just gonna check this price because I was trying to buy a shirt. I think
right,
my daughter needed a blouse. And so I was like, I had to go to like one of their employees and ask them to scan it for me because there was no checkers. They got rid of them all. There's just the little isolated spots, on the kiosk at the end,
right.
they were just empty. So I was like, oh shit. And at Walmart, uh, here, they only have a couple and they don't work. So I don't know if they're getting rid of them, just casually at Walmart, but I'm not sure if it's just that location sucked with their scanners, but I noticed that Walmart also was removing some of them from some of the stores, but I don't know if they're
It
all
was
gone
very
yet.
convenient because you didn't have to go run somebody down and like, yeah,
Yep.
what's the price? You just you had it
I
right
think
there.
it's kind of all tactical if you think about it. I mean, you can't,
Right,
like Target, sometimes you can scan a product to find out the current price right off their website if you have your phone.
right.
But they know most people, unless you're savvy and you're paying attention to pricing, will not scan the product. You can also do it, I think, at Walmart as well, but I'm not entirely sure. So, I mean, you can utilize your phone for some of these things, and maybe that's the angle or direction they're going in. But the truth is most people are busy or they're just trying to get in and out of the store. So they're not going to like, let me go to the website and get up the barcode scanner and they're not going to go track down an employee just to scan it. They'll do it when they get to the cashier,
Right.
maybe if they remember. Um, but it just seems like it's another tactic. It's kind
Yeah.
of like digital coupons, like at Fry's or Kroger's or whatever. It's like everything's digitalized and it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah, it
it just
is.
is.
I mean, I get it. This day and age, everybody's on their phone, and I guess
But
they
if
feel they're making it easier by putting it all on your phone.
right, but if you have
I'd
an
rather.
elderly person that
Right.
doesn't know how to use the phone or doesn't
Exactly.
have a smartphone, they're basically screwed.
Right.
But somebody told me though that if you go to a Kroger or, one of these stores where they utilize the digital coupons, just say, you know what, I don't have a smartphone. And you tell this to the cashier, but I know that there's a digital coupon. They can look it up for you at the actual register.
Oh,
So that's another option for those, that let's say you're out shopping and you see a deal, but you don't have your phone with you, or you can't get into the website. Maybe there's an issue, right? Just let the cashier know and they can look it up through their system. I didn't know that. I was like, helpful hints.
right.
Um, but it's just weird. It's a very weird funk in the air too. The energy's been really off. for a good chunk of the year, but as we've gotten to the holidays, it feels like the doom of 2023 feels a little bit more. It's like a thick layer of just weird energy that doesn't make any sense.
Well,
Where
yeah,
there's
I mean,
a lot of uncertainty.
you have, the uncertainty of the financial crisis, or upcoming financial crisis, or the impending doom of the economy crashing, whatever may happen the next year or two, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And one thing that, for whatever reason, it's funny, we still, to this day, um, still talking about when it comes to the unexplained or whatever. It
Hmm.
seems like Planet X, the whole Planet X discussion, just would not go away
No, it's
at
actually
all.
gotten increased, I think.
So that's telling me, you know, one or two things: that this is the most elaborate hoax ever, or like this is the real deal. Like, hey, you can try to ignore it all you want. Yeah, no, it's real.
Hmm.
Um, and we hit each other up. If I find something crazy, or something new regarding Planet X, I'll send it
And
to you.
there's always something new.
Yeah, and there's still, to this day, there's still new sightings of a planetary body in the sky, objects in the sky. I know, one of the people we both follow, Mr. What's his name? Or Mr. BB, or whatever his name is.
Mr.
Um,
MBB333
yeah,
on
that guy.
YouTube. Hmm.
There was that clip you sent me, actually, of that planetary body, in the sky, and it's just like, wow, like there's still people that are still capturing stuff
Oh
regarding
yeah.
the system. Like, what that Dave Dobbs, the guy on YouTube, that he's been really good. He, to the point where he's been able to create a, uh, pretty accurate model of
Mhm.
our solar system, and plus the system of the, uh, binary star, that comes in. He's been pretty good on that. But yeah, there it is right there.
This is from Mr. And I'm not going to play his video. I highly encourage anyone watching to go check out his interview with the eyewitness about the rogue dark planet slash moon. It is on his channel. He posted 9 days ago. This is previous week technically, but it's a fascinating image that she caught on her phone. This was the image. This was actually captured like in November. So this has nothing to do with the Jupiter stuff and things that were going on in early December, going into the mid of December. This is its own event. She was outside with her dogs, and they captured this fascinating picture. And this is where she saw it. It was like early in the morning. She had taken her dog out to go use the potty, and she lives in Sierra Vista, Arizona. And she actually got her husband involved so he could see it, and then her kids. And you know, basically, she wasn't sure what it was. She actually was like, "Am I seeing something here?
Right.
Is it a reflection of the moon? What is this?" And so it's a great interview, really, really cool. And there's a better look at it. But I highly suggest going and checking out his video. I don't want to play it on here because I feel like that's not right. But
Right.
it's a really, really cool uh, interview and breakdown. And obviously, she's a sky watcher just because Sierra Vista, like Rich knows, is tucked out. So,
Yeah, we,
you know,
my youngest had a softball game down there last season. That's a drive. It is a drive. It's southern Arizona.
yep.
It's right by, I think it's right before Yuma or right by Yuma, one of the two. Anyway, yeah, it's right by the southern, the border. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, it's from here. it's like a 3.5 hour drive
Yeah,
where
yeah,
I'm
that
at.
sounds right.
But yeah, southern Arizona area.
It's it's very rural out there. It's very open. The skies are beautiful.
Right.
And in Arizona, you don't get cloud cover very often.
Mm.
I mean, you get clouds, don't get me wrong. It's
Right.
just
Right.
different. You don't like the sun, I swear to God, like you can get your vitamin C and vitamin D all just by standing outside and rolling around in grass. You know what I mean? Like you don't even have to be out there 5 minutes and you
Yeah,
have enough
it's
vitamin D
different
to kill an army,
compared to like how the skies are like on the East Coast or
Yes.
whatever. Like in Arizona, there's days where it's completely just no cloud. There's not a cloud in the sky.
Yep.
Just you get up, you go outside, and it's just a clear day. Now, so yeah, we get plenty of those days out here. So in a place like Sierra Vista, where where there's not a lot of what do you call it, light pollution.
Yeah, light pollution.
So the nights, at nighttime, you're able to see a lot more stars. You're probably able to see the outline of the Milky Way, galaxy
Yep.
um, at night too. So you're able to
It's
see a lot more stuff in areas like Sierra Vista.
and it is a perfect place for sky watchers too, because you are
Right.
tucked out. You don't have all the city lights, and you can see pretty much everything. There's a lot of places in Arizona like that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
thank God for that. New Mexico's like that too, to a
Right.
degree, depending on where you're at. But um, that I thought it was a really fascinating video, and the interview was great. It was nice to have a breakdown, explain she has the date, the time, because she remembers, and it wasn't expected, and it was very odd. I mean, her husband and her two kids also. They woke up the kids because they were like, "You need to come out and see this," and they all
Right.
watched it. And the way that it disappeared, it was almost like it just kind of, what do you call it? Almost like a wavy, um, it dissipated. It just kind of went away
Right.
slowly, and it was almost like a reflection of the moonlight at that particular time of night. And she's been out there looking ever since. And they went and actually purchased a telescope after that. And her husband and her were taking rounds around the similar time every night since then, and haven't seen that in that and they've been there's been other celestial events since then, but that she has not seen that particular, at least according to the last time I watched anything last week. She hasn't seen it since, but they're still keeping an eye open for it. But it's hard not to dismiss it. And obviously, she took the photos on her camera phone because that's the first thing you grab for is a smartphone.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's a great video that'll be in the links below. Please check it out. Like and subscribe to his channel because he always has really cool
Yeah,
stuff.
he catches some good stuff, and a lot of
Yeah.
the viewers, his followers and subscribers, they always send him a lot of good footage and good pictures
Oh,
of
absolutely. Yeah.
sky anomalies or whatever the case is. So yeah, he always gets some good stuff. But for me, this whole thing about for me, it started when I was a kid, and I've been kind of following it ever since. And to this day, it's just like, man, obviously, I'm following this for a reason because I'm still researching, researching it and looking out for the latest sightings and everything like that regarding this. And it's just crazy how one episode of sightings kind of guided me to where I'm at now, like researching this whole Planet X thing.
Mhm.
And with these new sightings that continue to show up, it's very interesting to me that this just won't go away. Usually, if it's like a hoax or something, someone
Right.
at by now it would have been like, oh yeah, remember that whole Planet X thing, and then done and over with. But and the crazy thing about it is like this is continuing to go on, and no one's really like shutting it down. I mean, I know NASA never said there was no planet; they just said there was no
Hmm.
planetary body in our solar system or whatever. Yes, they said. But they never like said, "Oh no, there's no Planet X." So, I mean, heck, it was in an article back in the '80s that some astronomers found it, and they checked that out
Right.
real quick. So we know that there's something out there that they're not telling us about, and we know that even during the ancient times, there's been just talks about other heavenly bodies or whatever like that. So we've already known that, and even in our previous um, episodes where we got more uh, detailed with the whole Planet X thing. We've talked about Planet X, I don't know how many times now, so it's not nothing new. And
We'll
we've
have
been
to do a stream, right? Like not
right,
stream, excuse me, a video.
right.
Like we did before with all those images. Because we
Mhm,
sent there's so many images that Rich will send me or
mhm.
links of Planet X stuff because there's more stuff every week, which is so bizarre considering how, you know what I mean? It was so thinned
Right,
out for such a period of time. And
right.
we would be going through websites and digging and
Mhm,
looking for any updates or if there's anybody really investigating it.
right,
There was a handful of people, but not very many.
right.
And it's now it's a different world. Now we have people that are seeing it,
Mhm.
from what, down south, going South America to those
Yeah,
up north.
right.
Um, there's so many images that we get exchanged. It'd be great to go through them. Like honestly, like grab all of the images that you pick up because Rich is always finding them.
Yeah.
I think they
I just
seek you
happen.
out.
You know what's weird is it'll be like a time. It'll be a time where I'm not like thinking about it at that moment or something. Like just ran it. I'll just come across. I'm like, whoa. As soon as I see it, I hit you up and send it right to you. Like, look
Dude,
what I got.
and here's the thing, it finds you. Because
Right.
like some of these images, I'm like, where'd you get this? And you're like, you send me some random Facebook page. It did. Some of these websites or individuals that are posting this don't have a lot of followers.
No.
This is just some shit that the algorithm picked it up and went, hey, Rich, you like this? we were told you might like this shit.
Yeah, we know you like this. Here you go.
Clicky
Go
click.
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'll get like it's weird because we would find some of the images we'd seen before, but we'll talk about them and be like, what's weird? This doesn't look like a sundog, or this doesn't,
Right.
this, that, and the other, or we'll say, that's crap. We'll have that
Right.
conversation. Because some of the images are really beautiful, but they're crap. Anyway, but
Right.
and why do we think they're crap? Because they're usually digitally manipulated. Wink,
Right.
wink. So, but yeah, like it'd be good to have a episode where we go over the Planet X, just the images alone, and
Mhm.
some of the video, because it's fascinating because you're seeing it in other places now. It's always in different angles and positions, and
Right.
It's so dependent on the atmosphere, obviously, and the time, um, and being told that something is something else all the time, but it doesn't always mesh. It doesn't always make sense. And, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, the Calm Squirrel is a huge fan of Planet X as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he's huge on it. And so, because his thing is, I like to just question it because there's
Right.
always a possibility. Everything is hypothesis. Calm Squirrel is more, what do you call it? The scientific brain
Right.
of the treehouse. We'll say that. So he'll always like go to logic first of, well, dismiss this, dismiss that. But sometimes some of these images are questionable and unusual, because of the time, the location, if we're able to verify those things, which helps tremendously if you're able to verify who took it, where, and when. And also, you can verify if a photos might be manipulated. It's hard to tell sometimes. Um, but we've seen a lot of really legitimate photos, I think.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
There's been plenty of photos and videos, and you know, the perfect scenario would be for the government to come out like, look, yeah, but no, we already know that would cause
mhm.
chaos and blah 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 blah. But and this has been talked about even before the 80s where the astronomer found it. This was, remember that
Mhm.
scientific magazine cover. I we one of our episodes I showed it.
You sent me that. We were talking
Yeah,
about that.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
this has been they've been talking about this since the 40s. As far as like you know,
Well, they started with the whole premise of the Great Flood, right?
yeah,
And Noah's Ark and this,
right,
that, and the other. But then they were talking about this cataclysmic event, and
yeah.
they
And
had all
it,
this
it was this
hypothesis,
right,
but still they had evidence of it. That's why it was like,
yeah. And and the cover of the magazine it showed planetary body in the
Yep.
sky. It's like this heavenly body caused Noah's flood.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting that they were talking about it back then. So yeah, no, the whole thing about Planet X is still to this day. I still have the same amount of interest in it, maybe even more than I did when I was younger.
I think it's
Yeah,
because more stuff is coming out
right,
in such a rapid pace that it's
right,
like every time we've talked about it, we're like, we have to do a show about it again.
right,
And then, there's stuff obviously that go on in like everyday life that affects our daily lives, blah, blah, blah.
mhm,
But it it would make sense in a lot of ways. Like for example, today, um, earlier this morning, this is the we're talking about the 17th of December 2022. But early in the morning, they had a minor earthquake in California. And
right,
then shortly after, a few hours, I'd say maybe 4 to 5 hours later, let's say 5 hours later in Texas, near Midland, they had a stronger earthquake there. And it's unusual. And
right,
somebody brought up a point. They said, we had an earthquake on I think they said let's see, the 17th of November in a different part of the state. I think it was closer on the opposite side of El Paso border, that area in
right,
Mexico, but like in a very odd location. But it was a strong little earthquake there. But they had this earthquake outside of El Paso, uh, on the Mexican side of the border on November 17th as well. So a month to the day, there's another earthquake, and it's odd, right? Because then where there's a push, there's a shove. So you
right.
follow the map, right? And you're
Yeah,
like, okay, who else is going to have this, have an effect or have an issue?
right. And for those that don't know or haven't watched the previous podcast about Planet
Oh
X
yeah.
or don't even know about it, basically how it correlates to earthquakes and other natural disasters out on Earth is because this planetary body, the size of it and its gravitational pull, affects all the other planets in the solar system. And as it gets closer to Earth, the gravitational pull it's supposed to cause a pole shift and pick up the activity, earthquakes, volcanoes, strange weather, all that picks up the closer this planet X gets. And it's not
Yep.
just one planet; it's a system. And the theory is that that our solar system has a binary solar system, binary star with other planets and everything like that. But over the past several years, if a person that follows earthquake activity,
Hmm.
volcanic activity, you realize that it's picked up. Earthquake activities picked up, volcanic activities picked up.
It kind of
Um,
goes through these very strange cycles where it might be quiet for like a small window, but there's always an
right,
earthquake somewhere, even if it's
right,
very minor. But
right,
then we'll have a series of strong quakes, and it's unusual. You know what I mean? Like in some circumstances, based on the location or the time, because we're talking about plates, right?
right,
So this is what I'm showing right on the screen here is called Earthquake Feed. Someone made this website and posted it on the Prepper Intel forum for preparedness reasons, because they also have a selection at the top here based on cities and infrastructure. So you can find out if there's any earthquakes near power plants, for as an example, which is very cool. But this actually shows you all the current USGS, small quakes to big quakes. Like Japan had a 5.1. This is all within, let's see, December 18th. So currently, what's going on right now? So there's all this pushing and shoving of plates. Peru had, I'm looking at the significant ones. In some of the island regions, not Papua New Guinea is one of the big ones, but certain ridge points also in the ocean. But looks like Alaska had a 2.1. I don't like earthquakes at night. That's horrific. Anyway,
Yeah.
oh my
No.
God. Nothing about that. I've been in one earthquake. That was enough for me. I'm like, nah, dude, it's good. Like a 7 point whatever. I was like, nah, no, I don't need this shit. You
Right.
can't run from an earthquake. You know what I mean? Like you're
Nope.
pretty much fucked.
Right.
Where are you gonna go? Outside, and then hope a building doesn't crush you. That's about it. Or
Yeah.
hope the ground doesn't open up, or some horrific like day after tomorrow scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but this is a pretty cool website, and I like the idea that you can look up infrastructure and it'll show you power plants, and locations for that. And if there are any quakes that are close to these power plants, because obviously what happened with Fukushima was so devastating,
Right.
it affected that power plant. So this is the map of all the different types of plants, whether it's solar, hydro, nuclear, so on and so forth, and the types of fuels that they either. There we go, wind farms. We have a lot of wind farms in Texas. Anyway, but it's really cool, and you can zoom in on the map, or you can actually even type in your city here, and it'll tell you the closest facilities, or anything like that. So over here, San Miguel had a 2.1 magnitude earthquake. Okay, so I can see. Oh well, if I zoom in, it was off the coast there on one of the islands.
Oh wow.
And that's where that was located. And then you can go over here and say, okay, well, there's this fuel plant for gas. That's the oil plant. You have another one with gas, Exxon. You have a waste plant. And then you have this other one, which I could zoom in on as well. Another gas plant. So you can see all the plants and types of energy, or what type of fuel, basically. So very cool. Just wanted to point that out about earthquakes.
Yeah.
It's helpful. It's a neat little map. Somebody created the website, created this map. There are a lot of good earthquake maps out there. I know
Yeah.
that Dutch, since he uses a program that was made by a designer. I wish I could give the designer the accreditation for his, for this particular program he created, but it's like a 3D earthquake map, which has been around forever now, but very helpful and very insightful for earthquakes and tracking it. This is a very well put together map, in my opinion. So kudos to the guy who created this website.
Yeah. There's a few, because there's another one that I forgot the name. I wish I knew. But it was like another 3D um, map of the earthquake map. It was like kind of 3D-ish. It had like anytime an earthquake went off, it would have like a little, it kind of like a bell or whatever go off. And it was
Yeah,
all showing
there's
like a whole bunch of rings for wherever there was an earthquake at. It's pretty cool.
I think I found it. There's so many like that, but I'm just grabbing the first one because I think I've used this before. This map here, so Earthquake 3D. Ooh,
Yeah, there we go.
I got a little excited there. My apologies.
Yeah.
Ooh, all right, I'm messing with the model. Okay, sorry guys. Anyway, so you can click it and hold it and move it around, and it'll tell you the magnitude of that particular earthquake. Ooh, who had a 6? Good lord. A magnitude, what does it say, 5.2? Oh, you know what? It's because they change a lot of in different countries, they have different magnitude, what do you call it? We've talked about this before because they changed ours, or how they, this is many, many years ago now, but I want to say just after 2008, going into like the 2010s, right? they changed how they were measuring the magnitudes of earthquakes. So they actually lowered them down, by a certain percentage, whereas other countries will actually have different numbers, like Japan is an example. So their numbers will actually be more along the lines of what our old magnitude, scaling was. But ours has changed. So ours will show lower, other countries will be higher. So I don't know. I'd have to verify how they, what system they're using to, like, are they following the American version? Are they using, like a Japanese version for magnitudes? Because when I clicked on this,
That
it said it's a 6.0, but
I
it's
forgot
not.
which podcast we did that you were showing that the Japanese earthquake system. That was
Oh,
pretty.
yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Like it
I
was
think,
like real good. Um, it was like it was a demonstration or video of
yes.
like how
Like how,
quick they responded. Like when it first
yes.
went off until we had a special report come on from the news station and all that. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's in one of our previous ones. It might have been about Planet X.
I think
Might have
so.
been. The
Yeah.
Planet X video we did, the last one we did. But yeah,
Right.
like it was super fascinating to watch it in live time
Yeah.
and see how quickly everything was. I mean, the Japanese they're definitely ahead of the game and they're working hard to get as proactive as possible, especially after that horrific, tsunami event that hit their country. This was obviously many years ago, but it was
Right.
so devastating, and all the after effects of that. Um, let something, if anything, out of like an absolute horrific event. If anything that comes out of it, let it be good, you
Right.
know, and hopefully, the outside of the lives lost, there could be something to glean from them, meaning that you don't want this to happen again. You don't want your citizens to suffer and not have a warning system. But their warning system has gotten pretty impressive. Like they're obviously working very hard on finding ways to measure um, the the surface and getting into, I don't know. I'd imagine I'd need to be the first ones to dig into the core of the earth. You know what I mean? Like at the rate they're going, they're gonna like have sensors set up at the core of the planet and be
Right.
like, we knew it 2 days in advance. They're getting it down, and it is working. It's one of those things where you actually get to watch it though in live feed, like Rich was saying. You get to see different cameras are set up. You see the news station obviously come up, you see all the sensors go off, and they have like public announcements of warning. Everybody knows the drill,
Right.
and it's fascinating because it's so well coordinated and put together, and this will save lives. If God forbid there's ever a tremendous earthquake, because inevitably we live on this planet long enough, there's nothing new under the sun. So there will always be that what if scenario, and that's like what we've talked about, like with let's say Planet X is, let's say tomorrow, let's just say for entertainment purposes, tomorrow NASA came out and said, yeah, there's this planet. Well, it's a body, I don't know,
Right. Right.
um a lot of people would be like, oh really, and they'd be downplaying it, I'm sure. Did you see that movie Don't Look Up?
Yeah, I watched it. Yep. Yep.
Oh my lord. um that movie, it wasn't like the greatest film I've ever seen. You
Right.
know, uh, I get it. I get what it was about.
Right.
Um, but it's kind of that same delusion where I think people would be a little, no, everything's fine. Now they'll let us know if it's bad.
Right.
Oh
Yeah, they'll let you know. All right.
yeah, just don't look up. It's fine. Everything's
Yeah. No.
fine. You know, but but the premise of I got from that was to think for oneself, right?
Right.
And make the realization that, you know, think for yourself. Don't fall into
Let's
the
stop
trap.
waiting on the see, make sure the news says it's okay or the government.
Right.
Yeah, you do that. Yeah, it's not going to be good. I mean, and that is something like if Planet X is real and they're not going to give nobody a lot of time to prepare.
Mm-mm.
Number one, they're not because
It's not
they're
possible.
right. It's not. I mean, it is really not much you could do anyway. If it
Right.
were to come, like, I mean, that movie 2012. That's worst case scenario.
Oh
If
God, yeah,
if it got close enough, Yellowstone going off, the big 10
dude.
plus earthquake in Cali that basically California went under, or LA and all that went underwater. Um,
Hmm.
the pole shift, all that happened in 2012. That would be worst case scenario because of
Right.
the supposed size of this thing and its magnetic pole. What it would do by flipping the planet basically and causing
Hmm.
all the crazy earthquakes, crazy volcanoes, and all of that to
And
happen.
that's just an educated guess too, because I
Yeah,
mean, we honest to God, we don't. This is all
yeah, we don't.
hypothesis and what
Right,
they do
right,
know. Good Lord,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. So, there's been, and I'm not going to say these are accurate or these are valid interviews because I don't know, but there was an interview a while back with some guy who either worked for NASA or he worked for some part of the government where he was
Hmm.
basically talking about they were they were monitoring this thing back in the 50s or 60s or something like
60s, I think it
that.
was
Yeah.
60s.
And he
Hmm.
said, like, when they were seeing it, this thing looked like it was, right across the street when they
Dude,
seen it. And he was talking about the red iron oxide that's coming off the planet or whatever, a dwarf star or planet, whatever it is. And it has like this tail of trash that comes along with it. Rocks and other debris. Um,
hmm
and one of the scenarios, if it does get that close, like Earth would get right in the middle of that tail and get just pelted with, comets or not comets, but,
kind of
meteors,
like
whatever.
Planet X poo.
Right, right. So there's all these different, he said that, and then when it got so close, when they were reviewing it, they cut the cameras off.
Hmm.
Um, and plus, of course, and he always had. So what got me into it was that it was an episode of Sightings, long story short, where they had remote viewers on there, and they're
Right.
talking about like the future, and they're all talking about this future map of the U.S. And
Yeah, we've touched on that.
yeah, so what had me connected was when I was looking, researching stuff when I first started getting into Planet X, and I was looking at it, and I was looking at, we were talking about looking at images, I was seeing the same map they were showing on sightings. I'm like, well, what's the
Hmm.
correlation between these two? And come to find out, like, that's supposedly what the U.S. would look like after the passing of this
The sea
planet.
levels and
Yeah,
rising
and
sea
all that.
levels. Hmm.
Right. So it's a very interesting topic. Like my wish is that it's not real, and that
Oh,
it's just
yeah. There's another dude. I say dude, that's so rude. But there's
yeah.
a man. He's actually John Moore, and he
Okay.
worked.
Yeah.
And I think this is maybe who you're talking about. But I know there was other interviews. That's the problem, right?
Right.
There's
Right.
so many like kind of like whistleblowers essentially, or
Right.
individuals who had knowledge of. And
Right.
John Moore is a former military, retired, and he does preparedness and basically just different types of like learning how to basically be self-sufficient. And he's on the RBN network. He has his own show. He is a Christian man. He's your average former military dude, very down to earth, but also very professional, right?
Right.
But he did a video presentation talking about Planet X, and someone had a friend that he knew very well and he worked with, um, basically brought him information about it and about the rising sea levels and where people were moving. And there was timelines they were looking at, but they weren't sure. So they had numbers and they were crunching numbers to figure out about this planetary body. And within the certain departments of the federal government, once again, special groups, right? This information was relayed about this planetary body that was going to pass by. They really didn't have a lot of information. They only could go based on so much, obviously. But they were showing the same map that Rich was talking about of the future map of the United States. And it was very similar, this map, to what the federal government allegedly had with the sea levels and all that. So if you have I'll try to find it and I will try to link John Moore's. I'll try to find it. So I apologize. It'll probably take me a little bit because YouTube is so exciting now and
Right.
clean. Anyway, it's not the Wild West of fun like it used to be. Now you're having to like struggle. Anyway, but
Right.
I will try to find John Moore's presentation he had done about Planet X and what he was told and information he gathered. And the dates that he was given, he was like, I was told this, but I don't know. It's basically whenever this body comes into effect, they don't know what it's capable 100% of doing. They can only go based on, like you said, Rich, an assumption based on hypothesis, right?
And the reason why they can't, it's hard for them to. The timeline is because the way this body moves, it doesn't travel or whatever like a normal planet or whatever. It doesn't have the same kind of uh, uh, path or whatever rotation, whichever,
Hmm.
you know. It doesn't. It moves weird, and so it's hard for them to kind of pinpoint, you know, when they can give a guesstimation, when it's supposedly supposed to
And
show up and all of that. So
exactly. And Com Squirrel was talking about this. He's like, it wouldn't be unusual, if we had this, let's say, planetary body just, or large, whatever, right? Zooming around essentially, or on a different rotation or axis that every so many hundreds of thousands or years comes by. We don't know. He goes, there's so much about the universe they don't know.
right,
So to say, oh, that's absolute bullshit, that's not. I don't know. It seems kind of a small mind to something. It's kind of like saying there's no life anywhere else in the world, and we're the only life in the entire galaxy.
it is, but people think like that.
I
So
know.
it's just weird that to have that kind of mindset, and I'm glad my mom was always pushing us to question everything and all that because it made me the person I am as far as the way my mind works and how I think and all that. So that's all her. She's the one that got me into that. So yeah, but yeah, Planet X will always be an interesting
Hmm.
topic until it's no longer a topic, and hopefully that won't be because we're not here no more because of it. But
Right.
um, yeah, it's always an interesting topic.
We will have to do a show just about Planet X again,
Right,
just to go over all the videos and the images. Honestly, the images that have been coming out, it was
right,
usually part of a series of a ton of images from different people who are now outside taking photographs. And let's say it's sunset or sunrise, depending on where they're at,
right.
and in the middle of the day in some places. Um, they're seeing this heavenly body, but it doesn't click. It's kind of like what that lady experienced that Mr. BB
Yeah,
BBM 333 had posted. I probably got his name wrong. Apologies, but check out his channel. It is linked. But it's fascinating because the question is, okay, well, what is that? What does this entail, and what are the ramifications, and how close is this, and why are we seeing it like this? Is it like we're looking at a mirror image because of our atmosphere, or is it just very faint or covered by different things in our atmosphere, possibly. This is where the people come in and say, well, that's chemtrails and they're covering it up. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't
yeah. I
know.
mean, it could be. You never know.
Hmm.
I mean,
Right.
there's so much stuff that's covered up and kept from us that
Oh, yeah.
anything is possible when it comes down
Nothing
to
is new
that.
under the sun. So,
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know,
I mean, you never know. But I know another interesting, and I don't think we've had many podcasts probably touched on it before, but not a lot. Was
hmm
Antarctica? We were
yes. Hmm.
talking about Antarctica, and that Antarctica is another subject that's always to me going to be interesting because there's so much secrecy and mystery behind Antarctica. And I, sent you some photos a few days back that I came
Hmm.
across that I think it was like from 1912 and very, very interesting because growing up and what we were taught was that Antarctica was just lifeless. It was
Yep.
just down there, South Pole. I mean, I don't want to say lifeless because you do have, penguins, you do have orcas, you do have polar bears, and all that.
Right.
But as far as like humans, no, they're just animals. That's it. There's nothing else there. But over the years, there's been interesting topics about Antarctica. Is there possibly life that was there? It was there ancient civilization there. There's been sightings of pictures of supposed ancient pyramids there. A lot of
Yeah.
stuff, and I'll let you go ahead and show the pictures off. But these are very interesting pictures. I came
Allegedly,
across
these were
this year.
photos from Captain Scott
Yeah,
from 1912, and
right,
they are fascinating photos. Like
right,
I'm pausing it, so I apologize. There's this little thing. I just like the video presentation
right,
because it does go through so many of these.
right.
Picking one or two was too hard. I was like, no,
Yeah,
man. Like
there's too
I was
many good
sending him,
ones.
I was sending him to Rich in like DM. We're going back and forth, and I was like, look at this one. Look at this one. I'm
Yeah,
like, damn it, So I was
right,
trying to find like a little PowerPoint type presentation. Somebody did make this. I have the link in the video section below, so if you want to check it out or dig further. But at first glance, um, they're really fascinating photos, huh?
right, right.
They're really cool. Um, well, hopefully we'll get to the. There's a lot of structures and old
Yeah,
stones and these buildings that are obviously no longer in use, and mounds of rocks and stone.
right,
Looks like almost like the one we just saw looked like a city, like a
right.
path.
Yeah,
And this here with the penguin is
right.
actually a marker for mines. So if you
Mhm.
see some of these like little markers with a statue on them, those are actually just markers for where they were mining in that area at the time, just to kind of like designate the area so others knew, oh, this is where the mines are.
Right,
So in case anybody was wondering about like this statue, it's pretty cool, but that's more that's newer.
right, right,
So,
right,
but this monument here, I don't. That's
right.
I don't know the dating on that. I don't know enough about this topic in that sense to know
Mhm.
um, how old this is, and if there's been. See, here's a bunch of rocks on top of each other. Obviously, there's the one of the pyramids.
Right. Yeah, look at that. Wow.
Man, that's an incredible shot. There's a few in here.
Right.
So here's just the water. Somebody colorized these too. It was pretty nice. But see, look at this building. It looks like
Yeah,
the side of a building or a
right.
bridge.
Entryway, maybe something. Yeah,
Right. Don't know what the hell that is.
yeah.
Here's the ship, which is
Mhm.
amazing to see this photo, but to see the ship at a distance is amazing. Oh, we are going to have some colorization ones in here because somebody did go through these in color, some of them as well. So
Right.
you might have some color photos, and somebody like went in and did it
Look at
themselves.
that.
These pillars are amazing.
Right.
Look at that. It's mind blowing, is what that is. It's like,
Yeah.
what the hell, dude? That's the wall, I imagine.
Mhm.
This blew my mind a bit. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's
I
that
would
is
need to go and dig and figure this out. And like,
right.
I
That's
mean,
crazy.
honestly, I was like, I didn't even know there. I mean, I don't want to sound ignorant, but I honestly didn't know there were structures like this in that area at all.
Yeah. Well, that's
I,
we were told that it, you know, uninhabitable.
I'm not entirely sure this photo here, if this is part of the mining
Or if
operation.
that's like something they
Kind
had,
of,
like equipment or
yeah.
something they had, or something. I don't
They're obviously bundled up. I was looking at them and I was like, dude, they're so cold. They have cloaks over themselves,
know.
like in
Right.
multiple layers, dude. I was like, nice dress, guy. And then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's the cloaks and the fur
Right.
coats and all that.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah.
There's a ship again. I think the pictures of the ship look really badass.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, there's another shot of that building. Or another building. Excuse me.
I don't know. It used to be like a little house or something for somebody. So,
Right.
you know,
That's what I would think.
right.
Like an upscale of like a Eskimo home, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yep. Oh, look at that.
It's like, what the hell is that, dude?
That right there.
What the hell is that, dude? You know, they're all walking along. See,
Right.
look at that. It's like, what?
Wow.
Were the Russians here? Is this their art? You know,
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, it's really fascinating because I have
it
no idea what
is.
the hell this is. It's like, I didn't know there was, ignorant as hell. I didn't know. I hope they have, I know the pyramid pics are in here somewhere, the additional ones,
Yeah.
because those are really amazing. Here's one image. These
Yeah.
are out
Look
of
at
like photo books, but that one's at a distance, and there's like a little building here attached.
right.
It was in their like the scrapbooks from their travels. I mean, what the hell? And not to be a Debbie Downer, but like I sure as hell wouldn't want to live there year round.
No.
So makes you wonder if like this was just like a snowbird home for somebody,
Yeah. Maybe a temporary.
or if it's just ancient. Like we're talking
Yeah.
like
Way back.
pre,
Yeah.
yeah, like maybe
Probably
a
when the
pool.
temperatures was a lot different.
Yeah. See, look at that.
Wow.
So yeah, it's the whole Antarctica thing. It's very fascinating stuff, and it's like there's so much. There's a lot,
Yeah.
but at the same time, there's not.
Yeah. So there's always been, we were told like millions of years ago, Antarctica was different. It was more like a tropical um, setting, I guess. Uh, that it was habitable, but nothing about ancient civilizations living there or whatever. So what really kind of did it was, for whatever reason, it had to do with flat Earth theory. A lot of people was thinking about it.
Hmm.
So in their idea is that um, Antarctica is an ice wall that's surrounding um, us, basically. But then it went a little further past the flat Earth theory, where um, that Earth may actually be bigger than what we were told. And so, um, beyond the ice wall, you have other continents, other countries, advanced civilizations, and all that going beyond. And let me see if I can find that supposed map. But there is a theory also that the Earth is bigger um, than what we're told. And you
Hmm.
have a whole bunch of other um, countries and ancient um, or
You
advanced
found it?
civilizations. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So let me make sure I got it here. All right.
Found it.
So make sure I share it right and not mess up.
No, it's all good. Uno momento,
Okay.
por favor. Mhm.
So um, get that. It's up. So you better not freeze it. Yeah, I was getting ready to
Technology.
start freezing. Like, yeah, nah, you thought you were going to show it now, player.
They're like, no, how about some more Planet X? Hold on.
Yeah, I'm trying to like. It's taking forever to load. I don't know why. Okay, I know why because I did
You
that.
double
All right,
click it by
so
accident?
yeah, so all right, where the heck is the? Oh, here we go. Shares. All right, so let me not that.
if you go to your tabs, like when it
Yep.
says, there you go.
And there. Yay. So, do you see it?
Now I do. There
Okay.
you go.
So yeah. So supposedly this is the map of the ice wall. So here we are. We have our the ice wall for us, and then beyond that, you have other lands, another ice wall, and then more lands beyond that.
Hmm.
So, in this part of the theory of Earth being bigger, having sections instead of stupid Fashion Nova, instead of just what we know.
Hmm.
So that's where that whole theory about what's beyond Antarctica, um, and that's what makes those pictures interesting because it
Hmm.
makes you think like, okay, is there something else beyond Antarctica? Is there, you know, as far as the pyramids and stuff, that's something I've seen before where there's been
Oh
pictures of,
yeah.
pyramids and Antarctica. There's been stories about stuff going on down there that, you know, uh, they've come across creatures that's killed military giants down there that's killed. They went on a mission and awakened sleeping giants down there. So it's very interesting underground. I don't know if the underground cities or whatever the case is down there, but a lot of times these scientists that go down there or whatever, they can't speak on a lot of stuff that they
Right.
see down there. So it does make you think, heck, even the X Files movie, they were freaking after Scully got kidnapped and
Yeah.
thinking they got that whole big old UFO under the ice down there.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's very interesting about Antarctica, and it makes you really wonder, like, is it a possibility? Just what if there's other land out there that we're not being told about? What if there's actually an ice wall, and beyond that, we have
Right.
more civilization? What if UFOs are actually coming from the other lands, not from other planets? What if they're coming from other lands? That would just be crazy. You know,
Oh yeah.
theory. So the whole Antarctica thing has always been fascinating
There's this article from Ancient Origins, and it's from May of this year. Or excuse me, 2020. Good Lord. Sorry. Um, it says ancient pyramids in an icy landscape. Was there an ancient civilization in Antarctica? So, in 2016, the World Wide Web was all abuzz with Google Earth images of Antarctica that appeared to show pyramids in the icy landscape. The images show what appears to be three pyramids with four sides similar to the famous Giza pyramids in Egypt. Could these be authentic man made pyramids created by an ancient civilization? Well, before we go forward, no. From geologists, we're saying no, that's, that's not, it's a natural rock formation, is what they were saying. But it says here, who made the Antarctica pyramids? There are numerous theories about the origins of those pyramids. Some are more controversial suggestions that are that the pyramids were remnants of an earlier Atlantean civilization in Antarctica, or they were built by extraterrestrials. Other researchers have suggested a natural geological explanation for the Antarctica pyramids. These scientists have proposed that the pyramids may actually be nunataks or nunataks. Nunataks are the peaks of mountains that protrude through the ice and are higher than the surrounding terrain. So that here's the image, just showing an example here. The research of Dr. Charles Hapgood, two of the Antarctica pyramids can be found 10 miles, 16 kilometers from the coast. The third pyramid is located near the shoreline. So, the discovery of these pyramids suggests that Antarctica may have been inhabited by humans sometime in the past 6,000 years. It was around this time that man was building pyramids in the Old World. Charles Hapgood's research supports the possibility or possible existence of an ancient civilization on a continent which is now covered by ice. So, in Maps of the Ancient Sea Kings, Dr. Charles Hapgood published the Piri Reis map of Antarctica. So, if I slaughtered that, my apologies. The 16th century map shocked the world because it showed Antarctica without ice. So, this map was found in Turkey. A Turkish naval officer sent the map to the U.S. Navy Hydrographic Bureau in 1953. M.I. Walters, the chief engineer of the Bureau, sent the map to Arlington H. Mallory to be evaluated. Mallory determined that the Piri Reis map was completely accurate and may have been copied from a map that was made 6,000 years ago. So here is that map. It's a map of the world by the Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis. I am sorry, I've slaughtered that poor man's name, but it was
No, you're
drawn in.
good.
It's drawn in 1513. So there's the map. Anyway, so I'm gonna keep scrolling here a little bit. Confirming the map. So the Piri Reis race. Man, I've slaughtered it enough. I'm done. The map of Antarctica is very accurate. So, using seismic soundings and sonar, researchers found that underneath the ice cap, the coastlines, mountain ranges, plateaus, etc., on the map, it matched the Queen Maud land in Antarctica. Ollenheimer, which is the leader of the British Swedish expedition to Antarctica, wrote Hapgood the following letter. Dear Professor Hapgood, your request of evaluation of certain unusual features of the map, Antarctica map of 1513 by this organization has been reviewed. The claim that the lower part of the map portrays the Princess Martha coast of Queen Maud Land, Antarctica, and the Palmer Peninsula is reasonable. We find that this is the most logical and in all probability the correct interpretation of the map. The geographical detail shown in the lower part of the map agrees very remarkably with the results of the seismic profile made across the top of the ice cap by the Swedish-British Antarctic expedition of 1949. This indicates the coastline had been mapped before it was covered by the ice cap. This part of Antarctica ice free. The ice cap in this region is now about a mile thick. We have no idea how the data on this map can be reconciled with the supposed state of geographical knowledge in 1513. And that was from the Lieutenant Colonel Harold Z. Ollenheimer of the United States Air Force. So this is a natural rock formation example in this photo. But anyway, it goes on and on about basically that they were able to determine quite a bit from this map, and that it might very well be that there was obviously civilizations there prior.
Right.
It's pretty fascinating stuff,
Yeah,
man.
because it
I say
makes you.
fascinating a lot. That's the secret word of the podcast tonight.
Yeah, it just makes you. Yeah, fascinating. It makes you wonder. It really does, and like, man, like, it sucks that you're um, there's so much secrecy and that we're kept from.
Yes.
And you could just imagine, like if someone just came out like, okay, look, this is what we've been keeping from you all.
Right.
Here you go. Like, people probably go crazy, like, especially when it comes to ancient civilizations, ancient technology.
Yep.
The case is that would really like turn people upside down.
Well, they'd be like, well, if you lied about this, what else have you lied about?
Right. So, man, it's like there's more stuff for me to just research. That's all it is. Just
And it's endless because you're like, okay, well, there's a lot of people that debunk stuff, or they'll claim that was staged. Like even the Antarctic photos behind the ice, beyond the ice wall. What is the credibility of those shots? Like, what is the background? Your disclaimer is there. We just don't know.
Yeah, you have to look at that anytime you see photos and stuff. Like, you're like, wow, that just like in different theories, different. There's always going to be someone there to debunk it, whatever the case is. Hollow Earth is a big theory that we talk about too, and of course, it's just a theory. There's no proof, supposedly, that there's a hollow Earth, but you hear stories all the time. Supposed pictures Um, just like a couple of months ago, the supposed pictures of that explorer that came across some lost city or whatever the case was.
Oh yeah, in the
Yeah,
yeah the yeah
there,
the Amazon, not the Amazon,
yeah, somewhere. I don't know if it was somewhere in South America or wherever the case
somewhere.
was.
Hmm.
Yeah. So no matter what, there's always gonna, and you always got to look at things with doubt, and just in case you can't just go all in and like, oh, that's true 100%. So there's always you always got to have that little bit of doubt when it comes to look at, but nevertheless they are fascinating. Anytime I see these photos or videos and stuff, it's just like it makes you like, man, what if this is
Right.
really true? Like what if Planet X is real? What if these UFOs are really coming from? Like what if that those structures and all that was legit down there in Antarctica? What if there's something beyond that? What if there is a hollow Earth? So all this stuff makes you always wonder, and that's something what makes me continue to research and always
Because
question
that's
things. Yeah,
that's the key, right? It's
you're right.
the what if. Like, okay, well, what if we've just missed something here?
Right,
What if there's more details here that we're just not aware of? You know,
right,
and
right.
there's a ton. And the truth is, like, between the need to conceal information, like I would love to get a free pass into the Vatican Library
Oh,
because damn well there's some
ooh,
shit in there,
oh
and
yeah.
they're like, well, we borrowed this from Africa somewhere, and
Mhm,
we stole their shit, and then we claim we don't have it. It's,
mhm.
if anything we've seen historically, that's a residual problem.
Yeah,
Anyway,
heck, even with the Smithsonian, I'm pretty sure there's some stuff they got down in their
see,
basement somewhere that's like,
exactly.
nah, we can't show this.
Damn well they'd be like, well, we were worried about national security, or we were worried about the health of our church and having an existence. Like, whatever,
You got a
you
whole bunch
know,
of giant skulls down there, so
you watch. Just ignore those. Dude, did you see that troll movie?
yes,
Dude, that was pretty good. I liked it. I
yeah,
know
it
it wasn't
was. They
like
did it, good.
it,
And it's crazy that they came out with that movie when I think we were talking about like rock formations and stuff,
yeah,
and how like they look like
yeah.
humans or whatever, or old giants, and then here you come with this troll movie. You're like, the heck?
And it's all based on, I know it's like, partially on their excuse me, not lessons, their legends there in Norway and stuff, and
Right.
Norwegian belief systems, are generally speaking, right? But there's so much stuff. That film was actually good. I liked it. It was a fun movie. I could let the kids watch it and not be too
Right.
concerned. Um, you know, Obviously you want to kind of like temper a couple of things, but
Right.
overall it was really cool. And I thought it was a little slow in some parts, but overall pretty good. But if somebody has an opportunity, go to Netflix and watch Troll. It has subtitles in it, but it's really good. It's pretty badass.
Another movie that I sat down and watched was that Moonfall
Oh, how
movie.
was that?
So, what's funny about that movie is that it talks about something that. Okay, so basically, the premise of the movie was that the moon went out of orbit because at the beginning of the movie, these astronauts I forgot what they were doing, but there was this entity that came out of the moon
Hmm.
and killed one of the astronauts and went back in there. When it went back in the moon, it caused the moon to go out of its orbit. And so what happened was the moon started getting closer to Earth and causing all these crazy natural disasters, everything on Earth.
Hmm.
They ended up going back to the moon, and come to find out, the moon is artificial, and it was brought to Earth like billions of years ago from an alien ancient, or basically our ancestors, which were also human. They lived on this beautiful planet of peace and everything, created this technology that took over and killed everybody on that planet. And so, or just about, and everybody was escaping. They created these moon ships to get out of, go
Whoa.
so they can habitat uh, or populate other planets with their moon.
Oh God, dude, I've heard this um story. Not
Right.
this story as a film, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, like the theory of the moon, like the moon
Yes,
is artificial and it was
and
rock.
and there was other planets also where that
Right.
was the case, like
Yeah.
Mars
So
being one of
basically,
them.
that's what they talk about in that movie.
That's wild because that's
Yeah.
an old, like for those who don't know, or maybe you've heard of it in passing. There was theories exactly what Rich just described of possible, possibilities of what are the planets hollow? Do they actually have a core? Scientists are
Right.
like, yes, they have a core, but that's on based on the assumptions they have a core just like our own. Because the truth is, nobody has seen our Earth's core in person.
Right.
So, uh, um, it leaves that possibility of imagination, right? So it kind of that's the point. It's like science doesn't. You have to have a little bit of imagination with science. Make
Right.
it fun sometimes. That's all I ask. A little fun, not
Yeah.
crazy, but fun. But there
Yeah.
was a theory about that, so it's interesting they went that direction. I wasn't expecting that, honestly.
Yeah. Me neither. I was like, okay, and I watched. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I know about this theory. All right, they put that in this movie. Okay,
Dude,
so
yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's on.
wild.
It's on. If you haven't watched it, it's on HBO Max.
I'll have to watch it.
Whatever. Yeah, yeah, it's Holly Berry and I forgot the other
Uh,
name. Anyway,
yeah, I don't
yeah,
remember. I remember her being in it, but I couldn't
yeah.
remember anyone else.
So
Just
yeah, it
her.
turned out it was different than what I expected in a movie. I was like, okay, so
Hey, man,
yeah,
that's nice. I like a movie that's got a twist to it that's unusual instead of just, because I like that kind of creative stuff. Like a long
right.
time ago, right? I knew a dude on YouTube, and it was just like, I don't know how the hell I found this dude's channel.
Hmm.
This is back when it was Wild West YouTube, though. So, you know what I mean?
Right.
It was like a rabbit hole everywhere you turned. It was great because it was always wild stuff. But he had picked up this book from forever ago. He found it at you know, uh, a garage sale, vintage sale type event.
Yeah.
And this book was very old. And the book was very descriptive. This is some wild shit. So bear with me, okay? Because like even I was like, what the hell? But he was convinced based off of this book, and it wasn't a fictional book. It was actually a book that was written um, describing that there were beings living on the moon.
Yeah.
And this book was relatively uh, from like the 70s, I think. And the person was describing these life forms that were living on the moon as almost like, lack of better words, like we would dismiss them as like a moth
Right.
or even like a fictional mythical creature like a fairy, right?
Right.
But they came in all different types, so they would manifest themselves as rocks or different types of landscape. But the difference is you could catch them on camera, so it would look like a bird on camera or a butterfly or different size orbs, and basically they live on like not just on the moon, but on different planetary bodies, but they all have different appearances, so it's all for different versions of life essentially, right? But
Right.
he used to do videos or he'd break all this stuff down and um, explain what the book was. uh, he had a strong belief in it, and for me it was like it was a little far out there, don't get me wrong, but I'm open and willing to listen. And I thought, you know what, you're not hurting anybody, you're not raising a riot, have fun, you know
Right.
enjoy your hobby. Because the hell if I know if that's 100% a lie and fictional crap, or who knows, maybe it's real. Like I don't want no moon fairies coming after me, my guy.
Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
I'm sorry I questioned your authority.
Yeah.
But no, it
No.
was some wild shit. I was like, well, okay. I mean, that was the first time I'd ever really heard this before.
Right.
And there was even like classifications for the different types of life forms that were on the moon specifically. That's what the book most focused on. And of course, I'm thinking it's that fascination for the last 6,000 generations, especially with traveling to the moon. Very really step foot on, you know, and I think that's where that was drawn from. I don't know if that was the person claimed to have that knowledge. they had that they were part of NASA in some form, which is wild. And it was very, so it's like, yeah, that's pretty wild. And then, obviously I wouldn't invest money in it personally, but maybe somebody out there could be like, yeah, sure, let's go look at those berries, you know. But it's still interesting because it's a lack of better words. I know I'm making fun of it, but I really should because you never really know, right? So I don't know. I just don't want moon fairies trying to kill me. Is that
Right.
cool? It was some crazy shit as that is, but he was an interesting dude. He was very nice, and I had spoken to him a couple of times about his research because I was very curious about where the hell did he find this book, and he gave me the name. It's been so long now. It's been so long. It's been like more than 10 years, but since I spoke to him, and but it was really cool. It was just a neat idea, a theory or an idea. He believed it. Like the guy who was
Right.
doing the, he totally believed it, hook, line, and sinker. So he was doing his own research though, and really paying attention to, you know, any kind of we found life type stuff or the cameras that they had set up in certain locations, or photographs specifically. So I don't know. Everyone's got a little, a little something they're interested in or something that perks their interest or that imagination in us, I guess. But a lot of things don't exist. They wouldn't exist without imagination, in my opinion. So
Right.
have fun. We're not
Yeah.
hurting anybody. Have fun. Just don't get crazy about it. Don't go
Right.
like, stalking NASA with picket signs about fairies and shit, because then it gets weird. Then you're crossing a line. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you want to not get institutionalized. You want to be able to do your thing and enjoy your life. You know what I mean? It's cool.
Yeah, we got to, especially right now. We were able to get back on here on this podcast, get some in before
Absolutely.
the holidays, because I know we both gonna be busy with our families and doing our
Yeah.
thing and all that. So I'm glad, but yeah, we're definitely gonna have to get another Planet X stream going and
Oh
some more.
yeah.
What was fun was the paranormal stuff too. So we'll do that as
Yeah.
well. And so the videos was cool. Seeing them clips of the
Oh.
paranormal videos was cool.
Yeah, just so it before we wrap up finally, I just wanted to touch. I'm not going to play the video, but in the video section in the description on this podcast, uh, you'll see a video there titled "Remote Viewing: My Ominous Feeling, Origin Unknown, Part One, Virus: What Is to Come." I ran across this video on a forum, and it's of a remote viewer. The video was posted 5 years ago, so 2017ish, and this individual, his name is Edward Riordan. My apologies, but he does a lot of remote viewing sessions, and he record himself. A lot of people do this. I
Right,
think it's basically like, a lack of better words, of astral travel or
right.
projection, depending on how you look at it or what you're doing.
That was
But
like the whole like MK Ultra thing, right?
yes,
Okay.
very similar, yes. And it's like the men who stare at goats, not that crazy. But
Right,
you know, all these government programs where they had remote viewing groups,
right,
and that's because they were competing with the Russians. Some Cold War goodies. But there is something to this, and so that's why I find it fascinating with remote viewing. But we didn't. I don't want to, like, obviously I don't want to play the video because I want people to click on it and check it out themselves. I have it queued up to a section. So this is his description on this video from November 9th of 2017. He said, "I had a strange sensation enter my awareness on the morning of November 9th, 2017. The feeling could only be described as a low level rumbling type of sensation hitting my awareness. So the feeling was so strange, I decided to remote view the origin of that strange sensation. The session was more bizarre than I anticipated, and to tell you the truth, I am more curious now than I was while it was happening. Very strange type of broadcast or transmission that took place here. The sound quality isn't great, but it's actually quite clear to me, as somebody who listened to it. But what you're seeing on the video, when you do pull it up, and I highly recommend doing so on that remote viewing video, in the video section on the description, you'll see him writing on a piece of paper, and he's doing what all remote viewers are trained to do. So you'll see him doing numbers and sequences, and he's trying to break down his feeling and what he's visualizing. What is he seeing? And what he ends up describing is COVID, and also describes what some people believe is how the mRNA vaccine works, which is extremely intense. Because when he was describing this, I'm listening to him explain events surrounding this virus, because he was definitely feeling, if you watch the whole video, which is an hour long, well worth it. He has a part 1 and a part 2, and he breaks down basically what he sees as COVID-19, which is so amazing. And he posted this in 2017, so I highly recommend everyone just go please check out his channel. I do have the video linked below. I'm not going to play the video because I want you to check it out. You know, videos that will play off of, like, you know, for other streams, for other things, obviously, of whether it's footage and stuff that's very different, because I would love for people to support his work, because you never know. There's a lot of unknowns in the world, and the human mind is so, we don't even use everything in our brain. You know, we don't even use all the neurons, and that's not because people are stupid. It's because we're unaware of what they do to begin with. And I think remote viewing is tapping into that resourcefulness that our brains have, that's capable, right?
Yep.
So anyway, I just want to bring that up because that's such a cool, it is a really good watch.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, definitely. I want to check that out.
Absolutely.
But
I'm glad we got together, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a minute. It has
Dude,
been a minute. So
we've both been busy as hell this year.
yeah. So yeah, we'll definitely plan out another time to get some more stuff going on, and I'm glad we're able to do this, and glad everybody who will tune in, check out this episode, keep supporting us. We appreciate it, and we'll be back again. I hope everyone enjoys their holidays.
Yeah.
Good Christmas. No
see you guys in the new
Scrooges.
year, right?
Yeah, no Scrooges. Enjoy your New Year's party like it's 1999.
You're like, party like it's pre-COVID?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, so
That might
enjoy
be good.
yourselves, be safe. Don't let
Yep.
the Mothman bite, all that good jazz. And, we'll check you out later.
All right. Have a good night, everyone, and be safe.
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown. I amuse you.
I want you to get mad.
Isn't that powerful? $50 or more.